clear your throat because we're coming up to the next part. I want to talk about the elves. It's pretty straightforward. That was for us to watch elves fucking throw some hands.
So good.
It was so good.
And I thought it's really funny because you see, like, remember we talked about the people having a problem with Galadriel being a Mary Sue or whatever because of like her killing the troll or whatever in the first episode. Now we have Arondir. Arondir
Arondir
like,
kicking their ass with little kick flips.
Oh man,
that was
bro.
Like you're how badass stuff, are you man. That you're whipping? He whipped the orc 3 times in the head with his break dance. You know?
Yeah, man, that was wild.
That shit was so good. Rewind. All right, so Arondir was just taken.
So Arondir was taken, and he's brought to the camp. That's like this like tunneling workforce that's being forced by the orcs. So let's take a little
force.
sidebar here to talk.
Oh, that'd be a cool shirt.
Force. That would be a cool shirt. And it's just Arondir with a big X. But so let's take a sidebar here to talk about how good. I mean, in my opinion, I don't know yours, but how incredible the orcs look.
Oh my God, yes. Well, I think there's like a little Easter egg. I think one of the orcs, I don't know any of the names, but it's one of the orcs is actually a guy who played an orc in the trilogy, and he played an elf in the trilogy, and he played a dwarf in
Nori,
The Hobbit, right?
Nori in The Hobbit, yeah. His name is Jed Brophy.
Yeah, so we have a guy who probably actually no, he's one of the orcs that we probably quote for a lot of our lives since we've seen that.
Yeah, I'm pretty,
that trilogy.
I'm pretty sure he's the one that goes, "What about their legs? They don't need those." Or he's the one that goes, "Why can't we have some meat?"
It's one of it's in that scene, but right in front of Fangorn. But like, so it feels like you're watching something that's familiar to you, and it's because it is. Those guys playing the orcs are doing such a good job, especially the one dude who's been doing it for a long time.
There's like just a bunch of things about the orcs that I really, really enjoyed versus what we normally have seen in previous adaptations or whatever.
Right.
But one thing that's like not like super widely known about orcs is that they can't be in the sun. And they kind of like touch on that in the Peter Jackson like adaptation or whatever, because it's always dark, when they're having their battles, they're always fighting at night. Or like in The Hobbit, they had the like bats that kind of like blocked out the sun so that the armies of Mordor or whatever could like move or like around, Sauron, like making the darkness in the Peter
like
Jackson
a storm and
so
shit.
They can move. But you never really saw them being deterred by light or whatever. And they did that very well in this scene. Not only like visibly do you see them like smoking when they're in the sun, but they're like talking about it too. They're like, "You're on day duty this time," and they're like, "I did day duty last time." "No, you're on day duty." Like they were so good.
So good.
It's
like just as fun as watching the Harfoots. You know what I mean? Like you just love watching these characters.
I love watching the orcs, man. And the whole like just every interaction. So they throw Arondir in there. He meets, he's buddies with the orcs. They make up a plan to like to see the tree line or whatever. If they can get up above the pit to see where the nearest tree line is, they can probably run for it and come back with more elves. They have the interaction with the orcs about not being able to get through the tree, and the orcs are like, "Well, cut it down," and the guy's like,
"Cut it down.
We can't cut down the tree.
Cut it down. Are you nuts?"
Yeah.
Nuts?
And then our boy comes out, Jed Brophy, he's like, you've got some scruples about you. You've got some balls. Here, have yourself a nice ration of water.
You've got strength.
Yeah, and he like, oh my god, he was so good at it too. Like he's like giving his little buddies like like seeing super suspicious about it, and like
they're all like, this guy's doing it again.
Like this guy, he's going. Oh, I love this joke. He's doing that thing. I love when he does this one. I love when he does this one. But so he gives them the water, and they're being like real careful about it. They're taking their sip, and so they're taking little sippy sips of water. They're real nervous about it, and then finally the last guy takes a sip of it, and he like slices his throat.
God.
And one So initially, I will say that initially when they slit his throat, and it was like this like little
really
baby
slow
paper cut type of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder if it's because like they don't want to be like too violent or something.
Yeah, well,
but,
they
like,
get pretty violent like shortly after, but I think they were just showing how quick it was that we're seeing it open so slowly. Yeah, because it was bad.
Because like it's like the classic scene where somebody gets like sliced, and then they're like,
right, and you're just like standing there, and then your body slides
and
off,
they like fall apart.
Your ass.
I think it's a similar concept to that.
Yeah,
but that was like that whole interaction. One of my favorite, other than the Elondir, other than his interaction with Galadriel, I think that was my favorite. Like interaction scene
with the orcs and the elves,
episode, with the orcs and the elves, and then they eventually get to the point where they're like enacting their plan, and they cause a ruckus, and they're like breaking their chains, and they're going to escape, and they're like, release
such cool chain breaking sequence.
You love a good chain breaking sequence. I feel like it's because of the
love
noise.
It's ting 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 ting. Consecutive strikes.
Yeah, and that's when we get our first Arondir being badass, when he does the big like jump, and he breaks the like overpass or whatever to cover him up,
releasing the sun.
They're
with
like
their lizard hides,
skin cloak. Their lizard hides, and then they release the warg, which comes out, and like I'm torn about it. Because the warg, they went with like this like hyena design that looks.
Yeah,
I've been seeing the memes going around that he looks like ugly Sonic.
Oh, it kind of reminded me of the third brother from the hyena group in Lion King.
Yeah, Ed. Yeah. Just like
just like goofy, like goofy looking, but also I think we're in a stage where things are not refined yet. And I think they're still working on like these nasty creatures, and that one seemed like a baby. So that's why that's what I chalked it up to. It's like eyeball sticking out of its head, looking
I don't know, like man. A mess. Like I feel like, I don't know.
Because remember the ones that we had seen in Lord of the Rings were like the size of horses. This one was not as big as those.
So when I saw that design, I was very curious about what wargs are supposed to look like, because this warg looked different than the wargs in Peter Jackson. And the wargs in Peter Jackson's also, I was always under the impression that wargs were wolves. It was just like big wolves, right? Yeah. That's just what I assumed whenever I saw the word warg. I didn't actually have really any idea. So when I saw Peter Jackson's, I thought those looked stupid too. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I thought that the wargs in Peter Jackson's trilogy looked weird and dumb as well. Like, I didn't like their design. I went and I looked up what a warg like is described as, and they're supposed to be like undead wolves. So I don't really understand why. Which would look cool, but like I don't understand why
they're shaped
the
like that.
Choice has been to not do that, because undead wolves, like giant undead wolves, would look cool.
It wasn't the best, but I understand what you're saying. I felt the same way.
You know what it probably is, because remember when we see you might be right about the like baby idea, because when Nori in the first episode, they go to the like old farm or whatever, and they go and they pick the delicious berries, and there's the thing that they call a wolf.
Yeah, the wolf tracks.
But it like that thing looked like what I would imagine a warg would
like
look
a warg looking
like
big,
like
fully
wolf
developed
with big scary teeth. So maybe you are right. Maybe it's either like a baby.
I thought it was.
Or maybe
I thought it was
like,
young. It looked young. It looked young in the face. That's that if it could, But it doesn't matter because his ass didn't last very long.
Well, he got a couple licks. he got a couple licks.
He did get a couple. I mean, more than licks. He caught. He some of them caught some warg jowls.
That scene was really cool. Like I think that like, although I will say that there maybe 1.5 too many flips for my. It was a little bit little bit excessive, but it was awesome.
I'm digging it. I thought it was going to be too goofy, the flips, but then I was like, man, every time they do it, I'm like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, like it's badass, man. Like
it's badass.
Why do you watch? Badass. Why do you watch TV? Why do you watch TV? Why do you watch movies?
Yeah.
To be entertained.
Elves ain't shit but flips and tricks.
Exactly. So then they fight with the warg, and then they fight with the orcs, and then Arondir's boy gets up there. I don't know the captain.
I think it's the captain. Yeah, he catches. He catches two in the old chest, the old Boromir.
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly.
That was a throwback.
The old Boromir. But they're
Yeah. No, I loved that.
Yeah, there's two things about that that specific shot or that little thing that I wouldn't say bother me, but like, one of them bothers me. The other one is like whatever. But the arrows that are shot at him look very pristine, like they just bought them from Sports Authority. Is Sports Authority still a thing?
From Orkmart? Sports Authority?
From Orkmart. Yeah.
I don't know.
You guys know. Do you guys remember Sports Authority?
I think it's,
drop it in the comments below.
I think Sports Authority shut down, but put it in the chat.
Did you used to work for Sports Authority? Drop it in the comments below. But you know what I'm saying. Like they looked like perfect arrows. Where,
they looked
where the
too polished.
Boromir ones
looked
like
ones
they were shot out of like a ballista. Like big, thick, and they got like the bristles on the end. Like those were like some orc arrows. Like, I'll give
like really unrefined. Yeah.
Even though orcs are like disgusting, they've been around for thousands of years. So like it's
quite possible.
Like, you would think that they would have figured out
that the archery orc has a passion for arrow making. He makes them look really nice. Oh, I really hate to throw these out with a string and a stick. They're like my little works of art.
These are my most beautiful of all of my fletchings.
The only thing I care about in this damn Middle Earth,
Speaking of orcs, though, the other thing that like legitimately bothered me is if you look off in the distance, you can see the orcs that are shooting him, but like they're so far away that I think there was a design production choice that like the animation was this. I don't know if you noticed, but the one all the way on the left, go and
I'm
watch. I'm
gonna have to look
because it goes like this.
But that's like jumping for joy.
No, not even jumping for joy. Literally just this. Like I'm not joking. This is the way that I look right here in VR chat is how it looked.
He just was raising his hands.
And to be fair, like I understand why they did it because it's a production choice. Because they were so far away and they were so blurred out, they were like, okay, this doesn't need as refined animation. We're just going to do it this way. And it just ended up looking like a little weird. But other than that, really cool.
Second flaw out of the 3 hours of Lord of the Rings, the
First,
Rings of Power.
Galadriel smiles.
Ding. Put it. How many rings? How many rings of flaws do we have? Ding, ding. All right.
I can't clip that by itself though because it's like everybody's going to think that I'm sexist. It's like flaw number 1. Galadriel's happy.
How dare she? All right. So the elves. So Arondir. Okay. So he gets pulled his happy elf ass off of the dirt, right? And they're about to chop his damn head off. And then what do they say?
No. Send him to Adar. The fun fact: Adar is Elvish for father, apparently.
Oh, did you learn that? Put it in the chat.
We're really working on our engagement, but I did really like that part where like they're bringing him in, and all the orcs are like bowing and stuff, like, and they're bowing and then you see his freaking awesome hand that looks literally like one this, where it's like this. Like yours, where it's like spiky and awesome, like
and he's got the sick
and then
gauntlet.
And then he like slowly appears in like blurriness, and then they cut it right there. Oh my god!
And then they cut it right there. Exactly.
I
can't wait for fucking Friday.
No, bro, because this is what's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. I will bet you however many Jubilees that they're going to go to the dwarves, and they're going to completely ignore that storyline, just like they did last week when they gave us the little taste of like the dwarven secret with the box,
right?
And then we didn't see any dwarves this episode.
You're right. You're right. We're going back to Khazad.
That's how they get you, man. Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, we're going right back to it. You're right. Damn it.
But whatever. It's a win-win though, because we still get more.
Because we get to watch Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. Not a sponsor.
But you know who is a sponsor? Tales of the No Realm.
Who?
Fantasy fiction podcast available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor.
And Amazon Music.
Like Adar looks like
even a blurry guy.
Got that the way that people want Sauron to look.
Yeah,
where he's got like the long hair, obviously. He's got those
pale skin, long dark hair, tall, dark, and evil.
He looked like a vampire or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I really hope they do, like a monster sort of looking guy, tall, dark, and evil. I like that.
Or I hope he's like real like he's dirty, but he's like classy at the same time. You know, like that kind
dirty
of guy.
And classy. Just like Rings chat.
He looked handsome. He's Sauron. Actually, apparently Adar, because I looked that up too. Adar, I think, as it is now, is another original character, which I'm all for.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah,
because I went straight to my scroll of knowledge. I was
to the I know I couldn't find Adar in the scroll of knowledge either. Obviously, they're going to bring him to Adar, and then I just don't know what I'm kind of hoping that they corrupt him, that they try to corrupt him. Yeah, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with that. They're going to try to corrupt the first elf in the series.
Yeah. That would be cool. Yeah. That would be cool. I would like that. Little bit. So
would you like that?
Just kind of that. I would like that.
Just a little corruption just a little bit for you and me.
Yeah, a little corruption. You always get the bad guys turning good, but you never get the good guys turning bad that often. Yeah, I like that. I like that
often. Yeah, save the best for last.
Speaking of the different storylines, I liked the pacing better in this episode than I did, because it was almost like, you remember when we were talking about Halo and we had such a problem with Quan. And then like 5 episodes in, they finally started doing the thing where they kind of focused on one major one, and then they kind of maybe interspersed a little bit. They kind of did that for this episode, I think, because we had mostly Numenor, and then a little bit of elves, and a very small amount of Harfoots, which not enough Harfoot for me, but I'll take the trick. The gist of it is the most important thing here is that the Harfoots are going on their migration. The Harfoots are hobbits that have not settled in the Shire yet. This is a time in the Second Age where people actually don't even really know that Harfoots, hobbits, any of that exists. They don't settle in the Shire and become actual settled society until the Third Age, I think, or late in the Second Age.
Yeah.
So they're heading out on their caravan, and Nori is trying to grab the old book of prophecies,
star maps,
the book of constellations, so that she could find the star maps, and she gets her little thing. So okay, there's 2 things that I want to mention. One thing that I thought was hilarious and it was how they opened with the Harfoots, and they're doing the little parade. It's, nobody goes off trail and nobody walks alone. And the guy's in the front, he's like, "That's right, nobody goes off trail."
And he's like holding his like stick.
Yeah, I thought that was nobody so goofy, alone. But that was about it.
Yeah, I love that shit from the Harfoots. That's why they're like one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think that's why they're one of my favorites too, because like the juxtaposition between like the threat of Sauron and like the orcs and like the tension on that side, and then you like sprinkle in this little like wonderful thing of whimsical, this glorious,
and it's like the hardest thing they have is just staying alive.
Just staying alive. They just need to hope that they can find enough berries for their journey. You know?
Like that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing happening for them right now is just like not dying.
Apparently they do, because that scene, let me tell you, I swear to Morgoth, I cried. Like I straight up cried.
Moment of silence for the left behinds.
For the left behinds, and he was going through. For those of you who are, for any reason, in the Book of the Left Behinds, Jesus Christ, if for any reason you're watching this and you have no idea what we're talking about, the context is anybody that gets left behind, they just leave, I guess, which is kind of counter. Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive part of the to their whole motto. Yeah, if you fall behind, you fall behind, and they wait for you. But by wait for you, they mean write your name in this little book, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, they take they take a little cup and they call your name out, right? They say, you know, he was taken by the snow. We wait for you.
We wait for you. He was stabbed in the face by a woman pretending to be a man. We wait for you.
Wait for you.
But seriously though, that scene, that like, shit was real sad because it was real sad because they were going through, and it was like kind of sad at first, but then we get the freaking bombshell that all of Poppy's family,
all of Poppy's family was,
and like Poppy's an orphan. Oh my god, man!
Oh,
and
that
like
sucks.
The actress that plays Poppy, I don't know her name. But she was really like doing a very good job of like acting like this, like she's composed, like she's like resolved to it, and she's there for the ceremony, but she's like really distraught. Like
you can see it right in her face. God. Yeah, it broke my heart.
Really
broke
good.
My little heart.
Really good. And of course, during this somber moment, our big doofus of a stranger comes walking through the camp. He finds the piece of paper that Nori leaves behind. He's like looking at it in the fire, and of course he doesn't know that fire is bad, because
I thought you were going to talk about the Harfoot that died from bees. He wasn't. We loved him, but he was an idiot. We wait for you.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they did such a good job writing that scene where it was like, it wasn't just like this like trope of like everything's sad.
Yeah.
Like, he fell off a cliff. Oh, they died in a landslide. Right. Oh, he had gangrenous. His legs fell off. You know, like everything was awful. Like
nice reminiscing for awful events.
Right, like their family.
But that's like their family. But that's like the hobbits and Harfoots, right? That's like that's what a hobbit, like that's their personality is. Even if it's bad, they can still experience the good. Stranger,
the actual doofus comes like lumbering through camp, which nobody notices apparently until he sets fire to the map that he's reading, and then he like, oh my god, I really like this part too, where he gets caught up in all of their like netting or whatever, and he like falls, and then he gets up, and like he looks like a monster, and they're all like,
screaming,
screaming and running and hiding in the bushes with their little twig hats to like that's their self-defense. They just like
it's just hide.
Yeah, and then this mother f rats on Nori straight up. He's just like, Nori, and they're all like, what did you do, Nori?
Yeah.
And of course she gets in trouble, and they're like, well, normally we would kick you out.
If you had as much hair on your toes as it has sense between your ears. I loved that line. I don't even know if that was the exact line, but I loved it.
No. It was something like that. It was like she's a child, and she's got more hair to grow on her toes, and even more sense to grow in between her ears, or something like that, or a mind to grow in between her ears, or something like that. Yeah, like it's just like whimsical, man. Like it's whimsical.
It's whimsical, yeah.
So he decides to let Nori and her family, or like Nori, I guess specifically, stay, and her family.
Yeah.
But they have to go to the back of the line, which I guess is really bad for broken foot.
A guy with a broken foot. Now, when you say the back, do you mean the middle of the back or the back of the? Yeah, I don't know if you caught him like trying to.
Yeah, no, I did. Like where he was like trying to like negotiate. Clear it up. Like I don't get, because their motto is like nobody walks alone, nobody goes off trail, and
then they punish you.
That he's like, he knows that his foot is broken. Everybody knows his foot is broken. So they know that if he goes in the back, they're going to get left behind. Like it's so it's like, but, it's like counter.
Well, remember the sister was like, and the rules of the Harfoots is you're banished from the caravan. Like she wanted to go the old school rules, and he was doing the best he could to give her a second chance, but the best he could do was to keep the peace in the whole community was to put them in the back of the caravan,
And then we see them like struggling in the next scene, like to keep up with the rest of the Harfoots on the migration. And then we see that, okay, so there's something that I didn't understand. So I don't know. I initially thought that the stranger was inside the cart and he like comes out and they're all startled. To which I was like, wow, that's really messed up. Like this guy's been dragging this cart full of giants the entire way. But I kind of like after the fact, I don't know if he like they stopped moving and then he was like behind it and he like was like trying to help.
I think he ran it. I don't know if he was trying to help, but I think he was definitely lurking, but he wasn't in it. He was behind it. And I think what happened is he probably walked into it, and that's
that's better. Right? I like that person.
I think he wasn't paying attention, and I think he just like he just like walked in because it. I thought the same thing. I was like, well, how could they have not realized that they were dragging around a giant? But then I was like, oh, maybe he was like lurking, like hiding behind them, and he wasn't paying attention, and he walked into it. Well, what do you think happened? Tell us.
Drop it in the comments below. Sure. So he pops out and she's like, this is how we'll keep up, and then they decide to let the stranger help them push the cart. Yeah. And so that's where we left off. Note on the stranger though, first of all, I still want him to be Gandalf. Because I think the whole him with the Harfoots thing is so wholesome, and I think it would add a lot for me personally to know that Gandalf like interacted with the hobbits this way.
Yeah, before. Like that's why he has such an admiration for them. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I really, really want him to be Gandalf.
Yeah.
That being said, there is a theory going around that he is potentially not just Sauron, but one of the Balrogs. Because apparently the Balrogs are Maiar in the same way that Gandalf and the wizards are Maiar. Like they're different,
but they're corrupted.
But they're corrupted. And what I'm noticing is his, like, when he's walking into the camp, all of the fire got big, right? Yeah. So he's got this like special interaction with fire. And you know who loves fire? Balrogs. And Sauron. Yeah. But that's my theory. That's my theory of the week. That's one of my theories of the week. That although I didn't make it up, I'm going with that.
My theory is that it's definitely a wizard. Okay. I definitely think it's a wizard. I think if we're going, I think it's too risky to like go as Gandalf. So, they'd have to actually like completely break the story and insert Gandalf like way earlier into Middle Earth than he and the other wizards are, but or at least the wizards we know in the Third Age. But from what I understand, the blue wizards were in Middle Earth in the Second Age, and they are, from what I know, there's not a lot of story about the Blue Wizards other than they were in Middle Earth, you know, doing their investigative work and this and that. So my theory that I think is possible is they're going to introduce a Blue Wizard, a totally new character, that a wizard we don't know anything about, but it's a character that can exist in the main storyline, and they can shape the story to how they see fit, because again, these wizards don't really have a ton of backstory about what they were doing in Middle Earth in the Second Age. All we really know is that they were there. So that's my theory. I'm really under the impression that it's a wizard. As much as I want it to be Gandalf, I just think it's going to be too early, and I think people are going to be really, really upset to touch such a beloved character and, like, you know, really change the timeline and such.
Yeah, I can see that. Let me on the note of the wizards, let me hit you with another theory that I saw. But I've been seeing this thing circulating around where the scene where we see the stranger falling from the sky as the comet.
Yeah.
You see it from 5 different perspectives. So is it possible that we were not seeing just the stranger fall from the sky, but really all 5 wizards?
Oh, because one of the wizards was in a forest.
That's what I'm saying. Like, instead of it, like we are.
I'm gonna have to watch that again.
As the shots, exactly. We're meant to assume that as the shots are going, everybody's just seeing the same thing from different perspectives. But maybe it's 5 different wizards.
Oh, yeah, but that still would mean that would be fucking crazy. But that still means that, like, then they brought all the wizards into the Second Age rather than the third.
But they are really, really condensing the timeline. From my understanding, they're condensing the timeline down like a lot, like thousands of years.
A lot, okay.
For this,
all right.
For this
I mean,
show.
I don't know if
so I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't even know if it's that. I don't even know if it's going to be like. I don't know if it's that important, because a lot of these characters, like the Blue Wizards and stuff, like, a lot of them they're not written directly into the. You know, I mean, they're in the books, like it's mentioned in the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, but, you know, they're not like going in depth with these characters. So even if there was a time crunch, like, even if they did condense the timeline, I personally wouldn't be upset about it, as long as the events that happened after with the War of the Ring and everything, as long as that made sense to what we're seeing now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Oh, I fucking love that. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So on that note, I believe that wraps up the episode in its entirety. So if you're still with us, now is the part that we didn't get a chance to do last time, but we're going to talk about how we felt about the episode, or what our rating of the episode are. So we'll start with you. Out of 1 of 10 rings of power, how many would you give it? Episode 3.
I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10 rings.
Ooh, oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 rings, because I got the elf action I wanted. I got the it should be 9 out of 10, but I just don't want to go too high, because I feel like the next episode could be 10 out of 10. You know what I mean? I don't want to go too high. But Numenor, the visuals for Numenor were fucking amazing. Of course, I got my elf action, and just as long as you continue to charm me with these Harfoots, the scores are always going to be very high, I think.
I would agree. I think out of 1 out of 10 rings of power, I think I would also give it 8 out of 10, because, I mean, like you're saying, like, I would give it 9 out of 10, but, like, it's impossible for me to give it 10 out of 10. Like, I don't think I could ever give anything a 9 out of 10, because I'd be scared that the next episode would be even better, and then there was another episode after that that would be even better. So I'm just gonna 8 out of 10 is pretty much my highest. I'm giving it 8 out of 10.
Since we didn't give ratings for the first 2, what would you give 1 and 2 individually?
Okay, episode 1 I would give probably 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's the same score I would give that.
Okay, and episode 2 I would probably give 8 out of 10 as well.
For me, it's I'll stick with you. It's 6 out of 10 for the first episode, 8 out of 10 because man, they nailed it with the dwarves. Man.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. I can't give it a 7
I know
out of
you
10.
don't. I know you don't want to. You do your score. I'll do my score. And what do you think? Give us your scores. Rings. How many rings of power do you give these episodes, respectively?
to end off the episode, you know what's coming. The sea is always right.
Oh, do that again. The sea is always right.